Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ujjivan Small Finance Bank Q2 FY22 earnings conference call hosted by IIFL Securities Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal the operator by pressing star then 0 on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Alpesh Mehta from IIFL Securities Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Lizen, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to 2Q and 1H FY22 earnings conference call of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. From the management, we have Mr. Martin P.S., Officer on Special Duty and Head Operations, and other senior management from the company to discuss the results. Now, without much ado, I hand it over to Martin for the initial comments, and post which we will have a Q&A. Thanks, and over to you, Martin.
Good morning, and welcome to our earnings call. Hope you all are safe and healthy. The first half of FY22 was fairly subdued, with Q2 witnessing gradual recovery. Early H1, the business environment was disrupted due to COVID wave 2. With economy improving post-COVID wave 2, business confidence has started building, leading to higher credit demand and improved collection, which were severely impacted in the months of May and June of this year. We are seeing a good credit demand in segments like affordable housing and MSE, as our logins are now higher than pre-COVID. In microfinance segment, the demand is picking up gradually. Overall, credit demand is picking up well. The improvement is secular across regions. South, which was the most affected by the second wave of COVID, has bounced back well, with an exception of Kerala. Among the other big states where we operate, Maharashtra and West Bengal are behind the national average. West Bengal is largely due to continued disruptions in commute as the local trains were not fully operational. Consequently, we are witnessing a significant improvement in business volumes, and collections are sustaining at 95+%. With this background, we worked on a 100-day plan, primarily focusing on 3 areas: rebuilding business volumes, improving portfolio quality collections, retaining talent. We are periodically evaluating the performance against the 100-day plan and expect to roll it forward until the end of this financial year. The disbursement in Q2 of this year has improved, rupees 3,122 crore, which is up by 114% compared to the year-on-year, 38% quarter-on-quarter. The improvement is across all business verticals. September disbursements were around 1,100 crore and October was around 1,300 crore. Also, we continue to diversify our asset book towards non-banking, micro-banking business, which now contributes 34% of the loan book. Collections, that includes arrears, are sustaining around 95% during August and September, leading to overall PAR declining to 18.9% as on 30th September, which was 30.8% as of June 21. A good proportion of the PAR reduction has come from the collections and normalization of the accounts. Balance reduction has come from restructuring. As of 30th September, our restructuring book stands at 1,480 crore, despite an overlap of 400 crore with total GNPA. Collections in our restructured book is very healthy at 86% as on September and similar in October. Given that most of the restructured book was due for collection in October 21, we see overall October collections to be healthy and are confident of improving from here. We have also focused to empower employees during this period and try to address most of the employee concerns. We have started to see some withdrawals of resignations across mid and junior levels. Talking about Q2, I would say it was a very good quarter as disbursement moved up significantly and collections too have improved. We see the momentum continuing in October 21 as disbursements was significantly higher than September. Few key highlights of Q2. Gross advances at 14,514 crores, up by 5% year-on-year, 3% quarter-on-quarter. Microfinance disbursements of 2,130 crore, up by 95% year-on-year, 170% quarter-on-quarter. Secured book has improved to 32% as on September, compared to 23% as on 30th September 20. Total deposits stands at 14,090 crores, up by 31% year-on-year, with total retail deposits at 52% versus 49% in Q1 of this year. CASA deposits have grown by 79% year-on-year to rupees 3,166 crores, or this contributes to 22.5% of the total book. Also, with the continued focus on improving product mix and encouraging customers to use CASA accounts for transactions, we continue to see increase in average balances across our CASA accounts. We have acquired 1.8 lakhs new customers into retail liabilities during Q2 of this year. With strong growth in retail liabilities, our cost of funds continue to decline. For Q2 of this year, our cost of funds was at 6.3% against 6.5% in Q1. Collections in microbanking improved at 95% in September 21 from a low of 71% in May of this year and 77% of June. Moving on to provisions. Book coverage is at 10.4% as on September 21, including a 34% provision coverage on restructured book. Tier 1 capital at 20.8% with capital adequacy ratio at 22.25% as on September. Liquidity coverage ratio at 151% as on 30th September. Now coming to reverse merger. Earlier this year, RBI had informed SFBs intending to merge with promoter holding companies to approach the regulator 3 months prior to the completion of the 5 years of operation. Accordingly, the bank board has approved the scheme of amalgamation with our promoter entity UFSL. The same has been filed with the regulators. We are now in the process to get various regulatory approval. We believe the process will take around 12 to 15 months to execute. On the senior management, the board has submitted names of 2 candidates to RBI for the post of MD and CEO. Also the board is close to fill in other key leadership positions like CFO, CHRO, CTO. In fact, few have been closed, and we are delighted to mention that a few very good leaders would be joining us and adding to our overall management strength. In the interim, we would like to assure you that the bank has a strong leadership team with relevant and varied experience across banking functions and businesses. Also, we have a strong and independent board to guide our strategy and execution. On the closing comment, I would like to say the extensive level of vaccination drive across the country gives us confidence regarding potential third wave or its impact. At Ujjivan, we have been driving employee vaccination over the last few quarters. As on date, 95+% of our employees are vaccinated, and the numbers are growing up as per our plan. We have also started to help our customers and their families to get vaccinated. This, coupled with rising trends in the economy, makes us believe we are nearing the tail end of the COVID situation. To conclude, I would like to reiterate that as per our long-term strategy, we want to accelerate business growth and profitability, diversify our asset book, and build a stable granular liability base. In the process, we would continue to use technology as a key enabler. On immediate basis, our primary focus is to improve portfolio quality, collections, and rebuild business volumes. increasing collections across verticals, especially from restructured and NPA pool. Reducing PAR and rising disbursements gives us confidence that H2 of FY22 will be significantly better than H1. We have recently got detailed audit of our portfolio quality done by an independent expert. Accordingly, we have taken accelerated provisions and further strengthened collections team and overall governance level across functions. With improving business momentum, with our deep understanding of our target customer segment and focus on delivering relevant product or services with superior customer service level, we do not expect any major surprise in our business performance or any spillover impact in FY23. I would like to stop here and open the floor for question and answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in this conference, we request you to limit your questions to 2 per participant only. The first question is from the line of Shreepal Doshi from Equirus. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. So firstly, the question is with respect to the new MD and CEO that we have sort of shortlisted. So just wanted to, so will the strategy be to bring in somebody from the same ecosystem, or will it be something wherein we'll have separate business heads for each of the segments, and then there will be one person looking at the entire ecosystem? So how are we incrementally looking at it? Hello?
From what?
Good morning. I'm Carol Furtado, Chief Operating Officer of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Thank you for your question. We have submitted all our applications.
Ladies and gentlemen, the line for the management has got disconnected. Please stay connected while we try to reconnect the management. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently holding. We now have the line for the management reconnected. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Sorry for the disconnect. I'm Carol Furtado, Chief Operating Officer of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Thank you for your question. We have submitted applications to the Reserve Bank of India on the MD designate, and the board has taken a call. We are awaiting the response from the Reserve Bank of India. The submission has been done within the stipulated timeline. Thank you.
So just the follow-up there was that incrementally we are moving towards changing the loan book mix. That's clear from the commentary also, and we are looking at 50-50% split, which was also indicated during the last quarter. So how will the management rejig look like in order to take care of the another 50%, which will be secured sort of a portfolio? So what is the strategy that we are looking at in order to go towards that loan book mix?
Shreepal, just a query. Your query is still on the management, or your query is on how the business will perform, on the business strategy?
Both. So it's like, because that will drive the strategy. So from that perspective, wanted to understand a few things. So.
Thank you. We have a very good leadership team in place, and this team is aligned to the quality growth that we envisage for the bank in the medium and the long term. We have also seen a lot of progress in each aspect of our business and positive changes on all fronts, including our people and collections. We are very hopeful of a very good second half of the financial year, and we will build a strong base to achieve the plans we have set for the next 2 to 4 years. If I have to get into business vertical-wise, affordable housing, we are seeing a very good traction, especially in the last 2 months. Our logins have already reached higher than the pre-COVID levels and are at an all-time high. As COVID fears are reducing, people are spending on house purchase and construction, and this is evident from the growth in the construction sector. We, over the past 4 years, have built a very strong book, and which makes us a very meaningful player in this segment. We look now to consolidate our position in the industry and become one of the top best lenders for affordable housing. We are working on various areas to increase our efficiencies in terms of products and service offerings. The other area of focus for us is the MSE book, which has been a star performer for us in the half year one. We have been incubating this business for over 4 years and are confident to move to the next level in terms of product offering. Onboarding, again, as you touched upon the people side, we have onboarded the right talent across all levels and have a skewed approach towards secured lending, which is giving us good results. We believe we can become a preferred lender to our customer segment in the medium term. We will go strong on fintech partnerships to complement our customer acquisition and growth. In fact, our first fintech partnership has been very encouraging, and we have built a strong book in record time. If we have to look at our newer lines of business, which is the personal loans and the vehicle finance, both these businesses are currently small, but we are confident of growing them fast. We have a good leadership team in place and skilled people in place. These businesses are at a stage where MSE and housing were 3 years back for us. We will accelerate our growth here again through fintech partnerships. In the medium term, here too we will create a niche for this segment. Microfinance continues and will continue to be a key focus area for us. We are gradually opening up to new customer acquisition. We are amongst the leaders in the industry with a very rich legacy, and the business would continue to be a meaningful contributor to us, to our overall volume. All our business verticals will grow with a customer segmentation approach. We will introduce newer lines of businesses after careful research around customer needs and if it makes business sense to us. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that detailed answer. Just some number-related question. So, of our restructured book, so what would be the spread of it in terms of SMA 1, 2, and NPA? Because I suppose you already indicated that 400 crore is already is in the NPA pool of the restructured book. So how will that spread over SMA 1 and 2?
Good morning, Ashish Goel here. So the 400 crore of NPA that you're referring to is from the Resolution Framework 1.0. So this was restructured in the month of December, a total of 850 crores as we had disclosed in our earlier earnings call. And from that, 400 crores, which is about 46%, had moved into NPA. The balance has got recovered or are into non-delinquent buckets. The risk on this portfolio going forward is close to zero. There will be recoveries from this pool now, which we are seeing a very encouraging trend. On RF 2.0, the repayments have just started in the months of July, August, and September. We've seen a very good trend there. As Martin mentioned, 86, 87% and above. So that is a very stable portfolio.
Sir, so basically, if I look at it, we have overall restructured close to 1911 crore, of which broadly 400 has slipped to NPA. How would the other remaining sort of 1,500 crore look like in terms of, 30 plus DPD sort of a number or 60 plus DPD sort of a bucket? So,
Shripal, as on date, we have around 1,480 crore on book, which is restructured. Of that, 567 is PAR. Of that 567, 402 is GNPA. I don't think we'll be able to provide a bucket-wise breakup of the PAR number, which anyways is a very small number right now, around 165 odd crores.
got it. Just one last data keeping number question. What is the gross slippage and upgrades, recoveries, and write-offs for the quarter?
For the quarter?
Yeah.
Just a sec.
Yes, 600 is 662 is the gross slippage in quarter two.
Okay. And the other part was with respect
Mr. Doshi.
Upgrades is 140. Upgrades is 140.
140, okay. And recoveries?
Yes, upgrades is including recoveries.
Got it. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Good luck with the next quarter.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Arun Kejriwal from Kejriwal Research. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, congrats on an encouraging set of numbers. I wanted to understand on the digital initiative that the company has been focusing on. We have invested a lot in terms of resources on this. So if we take a 6 to 12 month view going forward, how do you see these initiatives panning out for the company in terms of cost, manpower, saving, and better business?
Thank you, Mr. Kejriwal. This is Martin. Digital initiatives have been a part of our long-term strategy to create mass market bank. We will continue to work along the same lines, which was well laid in the overall mission of the bank. To elaborate on this topic, there are two aspects to this. One aimed at the back-end processes and other for the customer-facing applications. During the initial phase, the robotic process automation was heavily focused on back-end operations. Now we plan to extend it to other units within the back office and also to the business functions like micro banking and the branch banking. During the month of October, we have added 5 more new processes to the robotic process automation. As we speak, there are 25 processes which is already live. There are another 24 processes which is in the final stages of testing. Coming to the artificial intelligence, we have launched our website bot Arya, which is currently available on our website and soon to be launched on WhatsApp, which can answer basic customer queries and generates leads at the moment and can converse in regional languages like Hindi and Kannada. We plan to extend it to 7 more languages. Also in the process of building more intelligence in the bot to make the conversations more human-like. Among the SFBs, we have the largest share of the UPI transactions. We have also entered into strategic fintech partnerships for sourcing of loans, repayment collection. The results are encouraging. We'll be looking at more such partnerships to enhance customer experience. At this point, we have tied up with different entities for our personal loans, micro banking, vehicle loan, MSE, and liabilities. and our customer onboarding journey has undergone a thorough revamp. It has been launched for the closed user group testing at the moment. And we see this going on scaling up as we progress in the next year.
Right. Sir, one more broader type of question. There is a stated objective of the bank that they want to move towards a 50-50 loan book going forward. So if we take a 2 to 4 year horizon, how do you see things panning out, A, on the loan book front, B, where do you see the traction coming in which would help in increasing the focus to non-microfinance? So your thoughts on this broader perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Kejriwal. I will take the question. To elaborate a little on our medium term, like you said, our retail asset book will grow faster than the microbanking book, mainly due to larger volumes from the retail asset portfolio. This, of course, will contribute to around 50% of our portfolio and deepen our footprint in the aspiring middle class segment. I have elaborated in the first question about the details about our strategy for affordable housing, MSE, and our newer lines of businesses like personal loans and vehicle finance. Also, our microbanking will continue to be a key focus area for us, and we have also started opening up to new customer acquisition once again, now that the COVID has receded in most parts of the country. We have always been leaders in the industry with a very rich legacy, and our business will continue to be a meaningful contributor to our overall volume. All our business verticals will grow with a customer segmentation approach. Even our deposit base will get more granular, and we will increase the wallet share of our existing customers along with the quality acquisition of new customers. Our focus on solution-based approach continues, and we will accordingly create products and features which are relevant for them. Just to also touch upon what we are doing currently, I would like to highlight that we have recognized our areas of concern transparently and are working strongly on a 100-day plan with business momentum across all our business verticals. Over the last 2 months, we have seen good progress in building the business momentum. In fact, last month has been a record month for us in terms of disbursements, despite the many holidays. Actually, the festive season helped us in faster traction, and our incremental overdues are also showing an improving trend. Like I said earlier, we have a very good leadership team aligned to the quality growth we envisage for our bank. And based on the progress in each aspect of our business and the positive changes we are seeing on all fronts, including our people sentiment and increase in our collection efficiencies, we are confident of a very good second half for the financial year. On this strong base, we hope to achieve our plans that we have set for the next 2 to 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am, for that elaborate question. I'll join the queue for any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vivek Ramakrishnan from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Good morning and festive seasons. Greetings. My questions are all around the GNPA and collections. I've noticed that the cumulative collection efficiency has gone over 100%. So do you expect a strong pullback of GNPA in the current quarter? Do you get a sense that this has peaked? There are also specific problems that you have cited in states like West Bengal, transport issue, and Maharashtra political issue. Is there some resolution of these issues that is going to help accelerate the recoveries?
Thank you, Ashish here. So, to answer your question on GNPA, yes, as you suggested, there will be a peaking out, and we've seen a very, very good traction in Q2 after the reopening of the economy. Post the lockdowns eased out, there has been a very, very solid rebound on collections. We are getting incremental collections over and above the month dues, month on month. So the GNPA, as we see, will peak out sometime now. and there should be some recovery. We've put a very solid infrastructure on ground so that recoveries from NPAs start accelerating from here onwards. We would also like to state that there has been, a very good progress on the SARFAESI action on secured assets that we have initiated in Q2, that we should see results happening Q3 onwards. So we should see some good recovery from NPAs.
As far as your query on the specific states are concerned, I think West Bengal we are seeing some traction as the local trains are now starting soon, or they've already started. They've already started now. Maharashtra is a slow process, and we had limited our exposure as a strategy to areas which are less politically active in Maharashtra. However, the state has always been a laggard since the COVID has been there. So we are seeing the recovery in Maharashtra continues to be slow. However, having said that, in the month of October, the collection efficiencies reached around 92%, which is more or less reaching the national average now. So those slow but steadily it's moving up.
Excellent, sir. Just one follow-up question on the same nature. Do you see that the customer cash flows have improved significantly? I know they might be having some lags, but is there hope that the worst is over for us?
So, in the last 2 or 3 months, we have seen that the non-delinquent pool has remained very steady. So our incremental overdues has come down to less than 1%. Our NDA collection efficiency has steadily improved. In Q2, it was 98.7. In going forward, we see a trend going even better than this. It is the NPA pool which is now starting to give us some recoveries, and therefore, overall, as we see the collection efficiency will continue to trend upwards.
Excellent, sir, and good luck to the team.
Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Renish Bhuva from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning. So 2 questions. So one is on the provision side, on the P&L. If you could provide the, the breakup of the provision for NPA and restructuring. Hello?
So our total provision on the book is around 1,506 crores.
No, sir, I'm
giving you the breakup. You want the breakup of that, right?
No, I want this quarter's P&L provision of 400 odd crores.
Okay. So roughly 250 crore of this is towards your NPA provision. Roughly 63 was towards the write-off that we did, and the balance was towards standard asset provision. The standard asset provision that was there was because of the restructuring that we have done.
Okay. So 250 crore is towards NPA.
NPA provision.
Got it. And just to follow up on that, so in one of the call we highlighted that for the entire FY22, our credit cost will be around 1100 crore to 1200 crore. So post this, review done by the third party, which led to the accelerated provision in Q2, does that guidance remains intact, or you would like to revise that upward or downward?
Renish, the guidance was given after the credit quality audit done by the independent expert, and that guidance included all the corrective action plan that the management had put through.
Got it.
We are happy to say that we are the evaluation or the performance on that corrective action plan is up to the mark.
Got it. And just a last question on the collection side. So till September, there has been a steady uptrend in the collection. But in October, in few of the verticals like MFI and housing, the dip in collection in October. So what is happening there? I mean, is this something one should not look at very deeply?
Renish, it is largely because October across the country there were a lot of holidays, be it east, west, south, across the country because of Navratri, Durga Puja and other holidays. there were a lot of non-working days which impacted collection. However, if you look at the absolute number of amount collected, which is in line with September, so there's actually not really a dip in the collection. And also, given what Ashish already mentioned in one of his remarks, a lot of restructured pool came for collections in the October month. Despite that, the overall collection is in line with September, which is a very healthy trend.
Got it. Thank you very much, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Vidhi Shah from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to know what is your collection team size as of now?
We have two verticals, one for micro banking and one for retail. In retail, we have a team strength of about 175 people, and agencies. So we have empaneled about 50 agencies across the country. So they would have their own set of about 3 to 4 people in each agency. On micro banking, we have a team strength of about 2,200 people.
Okay, and how much has it increased over the last 1 to 2 quarters?
A net increase of about 600 people.
In microfinance, you're talking about?
Yes, in microfinance, because microfinance is where we have increased our strength in Q1 and Q2.
Okay, and have any sales people also been diverted to collections?
No, not really. Because
over the past some months?
See, what really happened was we, at the time when disbursements were not, so the logins were not very high, all the teams, including the sales as well as the collections, were interacting with customers to get the arrears. Sometime during Q2, when logins started picking up, sales started focusing more on logins and disbursements, and collections took over the entire role of overdue collections.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidhi.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj Mehta from Equirus PMS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi team. My question is a little broad based over last 1.5 years what we have seen. If I look at the total write-off and provisions we have taken, we are probably the worst affected bank across all, at least the listed microfinance companies and small finance bank, and even a large universal bank which focuses on microfinance. Now, what I wanted to understand, what led to such a larger provisioning on our part on terms of processes where we went wrong, or is it because we are, to be honest, compared to some of these guys, we are not even as concentrated geographically. And second, what are we doing to change the process so that whenever every 3-4 years such an event happens, the kind of numbers that we have thrown over a 1.5 years are not repeated in the future, especially compared to every peer of ours? Thank you.
Hi, Viraj. So this question clearly has a lot of comparisons with a lot of other industry players. In fact, we would want to abstain from making any comparisons with anyone else in the industry. From our point of view, we had put a strategy in post-COVID 1.0 as well as 2. Both the waves had impacted our customer segment very severely, especially COVID 2. And the dispensations available were, allowing us to restructure accounts with provisions held for each account that we were restructuring. So obviously we have done all that was allowed within the framework, all that was allowed within the boundary conditions, and therefore our numbers are showing the provisions that we have taken on standard as well as non-standard assets. And I can also assure you that the management has taken all steps required for recovery, starting from reduced slippages from the non-delinquent buckets to shrinking the delinquent buckets in SMA 0, 1 and 2, and also focusing on building up the team strength required for collections from the NPA buckets. So we've not left any stone unturned in terms of recoveries and strengthening our collections infrastructure. We've also put a 100-day plan, as we said in the beginning of the presentation, and this 100-day plan is for disbursements as well as recoveries. We are happy to say that, as Deepak was also saying, the first couple of months have been exactly executed to plan. So we are talking from our point of view, we've done exactly what we wanted to do.
Sure. I understand that both of you have there was a lot of changes at the top level, which is kind of not your fault. So I really understand the candidness. What I wanted to understand is, even though we were basically not, I would say our disbursement were like pretty low till probably second half of this quarter for last 5 quarters. Our expenses, both operating as well as employee expenses, have significantly grown over the last 1 year, each quarter actually. Even this quarter, we see a significant growth in expenditure, both employee and operating expenses. Can you throw a little bit what explains this, and what can be our forward expenses over, like what's the plan for next a year or so?
Viraj, a lot of expenses that have come during this first half is towards collection efforts. So we, as Ashish mentioned, that a lot of off-roll employees were hired on the collection side. He explained how the size has increased. He also mentioned about the agencies that have been hired. A lot of expenses during this first half is towards agency and the off-roll employee payment. And also some bit of a direct business expenses have started to pick up as business is now starting to grow. And that is in line with how variable expenses will go. So that has led to the increase in the cost to income ratio, which you have rightly pointed out. And also the income is subdued because of increased GNPA level, which does not allow us to recognize the interest income. Even versus June, the GNPA has gone up by 200 basis points, which led to further de-recognition of interest income. So that is the reason why cost to income and other expense ratios are looking a little higher side. However, we can say that with the given plan that we are working on, things will fall in place by the time we are about to end the year.
Sure. I wasn't talking about the ratio. I was talking about absolute numbers which have gone up significantly, especially over quarter. Just last one,
sorry to interrupt. Viraj, your voice is breaking up.
Sure, sorry. So just one last thing. We have been a shareholder of the holding company and the bank for 4 years now. We would really appreciate. We had Sumit on the call last time, kind of explaining the problems that we were going through. Would have really appreciated him also being on the call, especially when we are seeing this transition happening. Once we have the MD and the CEO, it's great. It's just a suggestion, and I hope we do well going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Viraj.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Yash Dantewadia from Dante Equity Research. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hi. I would just like to understand what percentage of people are paying you or are coming forward to pay you back, whether it be the 90-day bucket or the 60-day bucket. I just want to understand the trend that has been happening since the last 2 to 3 months. That would be great.
Hi, Yash. So when we were going through quarter one, the COVID-2 wave, we had done a little research with a set of customers, and we found that almost 60% of the customers had seen a severe impact on their incomes. In Q2, we have seen that about 6 to 7% of our customers have regularly said that they are not in a position to pay. And this is broadly the number that we are also seeing reflecting in our slippages. Most of the customers seem to have bounced back. There has been a good trend of repeat customers taking further loans, which is a good indicator of customers, starting to revive their incomes, revive their livelihoods. So that gives us confidence that most of the customers are actually past their, the impact which they had on their income. In terms of geography, customer segment, we have not seen any lag other than a couple of geographies where the lockdowns were extended or where, as local trains not functioning or things like that. But most of the other segments seem to have bounced back quite well.
Also, what kind of measures are taking to keep our management intact, especially the junior and the mid level and the senior level? I want to understand what measures are you taking to make sure that the employees are retained.
Hi Yash, this is Carol. We have seen attrition across various levels in the bank, but one of our key aspects in the 100-day plan is to address the people issues. That's one of our key focus areas. We have put in a lot of programs in place to reach out to our employees and address their challenges and concerns. We have opened up all our communication channels, addressed people through town hall meetings and various forum meetings. Our business leaders have started visiting branch teams and working on a quicker resolution of people issues. We have also ensured that jobs are aligned to people skills and made minor tweaks in job responsibilities and in the organization structures. Few of the hygiene requirements were immediately addressed to ensure people focus on schools, and achievements are applauded across the country. So we are seeing early signs of positive trends where our people are revoking their resignations and staying on with us. The attrition at the leadership level is due to personal reasons. We have started the recruitment process and have shortlisted few positions and closed a few positions, as was addressed in the initial speech by Martin. We are very happy with the people quality that we are attracting from the market. But that said, we have a very strong internal leadership team in place who are very well capable of taking forward the strategy for the bank.
Hi, Karen. I just have a follow-up question on what you just said. So, is it for me to understand that the resignation trend is over? I mean, is that what you're seeing on ground?
Yeah, people have been withdrawing their resignations. We have been able to give them a lot more satisfaction in the roles. And now, since the economy is rising, we do not envisage any surprises. And our book is now very well understood. We have taken a lot of steps to ensure that we have recognized our areas of concern transparently. We have seen a lot of achievements in the last 2 months, and we are seeing progressive results. So the board is also very close to filling up key leadership positions like the CFO, CHRO. This was addressed in the inaugural speech, and we are also delighted to mention that we have very good leaders who would be joining us and adding to our overall management strength. So we do not envisage any surprises in the future.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So, ma'am, also from the write-off that we've taken in the last, let's say, 6 months, what percentage do we see like people coming back and paying from a write-offs alone? I mean, if you can throw a number of how the trend has been in the last 2-3 months.
Yes, it is too soon to give a number of what percentage of people will come back and pay. However, like Ashish mentioned, there is a
the trend that is happening right now, right? Obviously, you will have a
So there is a significant focus on increasing the collection from the NPA pool. As of now, what we can say is roughly 1/3 is the collection efficiency from the NPA pool, and we are focusing on improving it month on month.
Thank you so much. I'm really satisfied with all my answers. Good luck, all the best to all of you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jay Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Sir, ma'am, thanks for the opportunity. The question is on provisioning coverage. And I think the context that we had that, I mean, in the last call or maybe the last 2 calls, the bank intended to increase the provisioning coverage just in anticipation of, let's say, not so great outcomes. If I look at it this quarter, the provisioning coverage has actually declined. At the same time, if I were to see the write-off that we have done in the last 6 quarters since the beginning of the pandemic, we have had somewhere around 1,700 odd crores rise in the GNPA. The only write-off that we have done is only 165 million or maybe 10% of the rise in GNPA. So the write-off itself seems less. On top of that, the provisioning cover again looks low, and it is lower than last quarter. If I were to add the entire provisioning of around 1,500 crore on the entire PAR book, the number would be even lower. And this is coming in the context that the bank wanted to have a very decent level of provisioning. So just wanted to get your comments here. Would this mean that we would be keep providing at the expense of future profitability? Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Jay, just a bit of disconnect. When you say that the provisioning coverage has gone down versus June, I would highlight that as on June 30th, the provision PCR was at 75%, and as of September, we have maintained the PCR at 75%. However, the book coverage has gone up from around 8% as of June to 10.4% as of September. So that is what we meant when we said that we want to increase the provisioning overall. Versus September last year, if you compare, yes, definitely overall provisioning coverage, all that would look a little lower. Provisioning coverage last year was 86%. However, if you look at the pro forma basis, that was 71%. Last year, there was no NPA pool where you would actually compare, so that would not really be a good comparison.
No, so I am looking at the specific coverage only. So if I look at the gross NPA at 1,700 crores and net NPA at 685 crores, the provisioning, the way, specific provisioning coverage would be...
Sorry, Jay, I'll correct you here. So 1,700, the GNPA number is correct. Your total provisioning on the book is around 1,500 odd crores, of which 1,026 or 1,028 is NPA provisioning plus 250 crore of floating provision is there. So the net NPA is 435 crore. The number that you are mentioning of 635 crore is probably an error that was there. So please look at it as 435 odd crore.
Okay, but sir, in the last call also you had said there was an exchange filing which said that floating provision of 250 crores is a part of PCR. Right. Yeah. So I think that will be the same this quarter also.
Yeah, that is the same this quarter. Floating coverage is part of the PCR. So PCR has been maintained where it was last quarter. However, the overall book coverage has been increased by 2.4%.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Deepak from KIFS. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
There's a lot of background noise from your side. Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. So on 30th, the board has approved merger plan, reverse merger plan, and I have observed on 29th itself the price was of 20% or so. So it shows that there is somebody is passing insider information. So how the board is planning to take such things seriously, because 30th the publication was there on 30th, whereas the price increase was there on 29th itself. And how you guys are planning, because this shows that there is a lack of control on insider information. Thank you.
Deepak, I would highlight that we got the RBI letter in the month of July, and post that in our August communication and every communication post that, we have maintained that 1st November is the date when we are eligible to file with RBI, and we would try and stick to the timeline. So the bank went ahead with the timeline, and how market reacted basis our earlier communication and recent communication is as per how market participants behave. So we cannot really comment on that. From our side, I can assure you that all compliances and all norms were followed, and we were quite tight on that. As per the timeline, as I already mentioned, it was an open secret that we would be looking to file in the first week of the November itself, which we have maintained in every conversation of ours with the industry.
Deepak, are you done with the question? Hello, Deepak. There seems to be no response from the current participant. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for the closing comments.
Thank you all for participating on this call. Look forward for a good performance in the second half.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of IIFL Securities Limited, that concludes this conference call. We thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.